The Raiders are back on the field after surprising everyone with a win against the Baltimore Ravens in Week 2, but now they've fallen to the Panthers. How did this happen? Let's start with the quarterback situation. Brash Young is still learning, and Andy Dalton, who has been a big name in the league, made all the difference in this game. The Panthers have some solid players, so if Dalton can keep playing like this, it'll be interesting to see how far they go. Meanwhile, the Raiders had Gardner at quarterback, and he's not on Dalton's level. In Week 3, Gardner for the Raiders was what Young was for the Panthers. Inconsistent. His shaky performance hurt the Raiders badly. But don't point fingers at the offensive line. They actually protected Gardner pretty well. Most of the sacks and pressure came from Gardner holding onto the ball too long. Head coach Antonio Pierce has decided to stick with Gardner for now, but he needs to step up his game. Gardner has great weapons at his disposal, a true number one receiver in Davante Adams, a freak athlete and matchup nightmare in tight end Brock Bowers, the speedy Trey Tucker, who finally showed up in Week 3, the reliable Jacoby Myers, and Zamir White in the backfield. He just needs better blocking. When Gardner gets it right, he can make plays. He doesn't have the biggest arm, but he can throw a nice, deep ball and make things happen when he's scrambling. The problem is his inconsistency. Sometimes his poor accuracy and decision-making cost the Raiders big time. For example, in one play, Gardner could have thrown to tight end Michael Mayer, who had a linebacker blocked off and could have scored a touchdown. But instead, Gardner decided to run. Luckily, they still scored on that drive, so it didn't hurt them too much. Later, he did manage to get the ball to Alexander Mattison, who turned it into a big gain. But looking at the play from another angle, Gardner could have made an easier throw for even more yardage. Instead, he made it harder for himself, barely getting the ball out. It worked out that time, but Gardner needs to stop putting unnecessary pressure on himself and the team if the Raiders want to win consistently. Now let's talk about how Gardner is costing the Raiders. In this play, he steps up in the pocket, but instead of keeping his eyes downfield to find an open receiver, he focuses on the pass rush. When a quarterback's eyes are on the rush, he can't see the receivers. So Gardner is forced to run. But let's take a look at what could have happened if he kept his eyes downfield. Trey Tucker was wide open on a comeback route. Gardner had already moved up in the pocket, and there was no one around Tucker. It would have been an easy throw, but because Gardner was watching the rush, he missed the opportunity and had to run, falling short of the first down. This led to a 4th and 1 situation, a missed chance that should never have happened. Once again, Gardner's focus on the rush cost the Raiders a potential big play. If he had kept his eyes downfield and moved up in the pocket, he would have seen Tucker breaking open deep. Instead, he dropped his eyes to the rush and ended up throwing the ball away. Let's look at another example. Here, Gardner has a clean pocket. There's no pressure at all, but for some reason he drops his eyes and looks to escape. Why would a quarterback leave a clean pocket? He then tries to reset, but it's too late. If he had kept his eyes up, he could have found a receiver by then. Instead, he got sacked. From another angle, we see Michael Mayer running open downfield. Sure, the safety might have gotten there, but you have to give your guy a chance to make a play. But again, Gardner was too focused on the rush to even try. Now in this next play, the ball needs to come out quickly. Gardner has a chance to step into the throw, but once again, he doesn't. He drops his eyes to the rush. He could have thrown it to Amir Abdullah for a few yards, which is much better than taking a sack. But what does Gardner do? He takes the sack. Let's look at another view. It's a quick drop and a short route, so the ball should come out fast. By the time Gardner hits the top of his drop, Brock Bowers is breaking open on a route. Gardner doesn't like that option, so he moves on to Davante Adams, who's also breaking open. If Gardner throws the ball right here, it's a nice gain. He's looking in Adams's direction, so how does he not see him? As we've seen, Gardner is really holding the Raiders back. Despite his struggles, the team is sticking with him, for now. He's already turned the ball over 4 times this season, with an interception in every game so far. I've only seen him play one good quarter of football this season. So how much longer should Coach Pierce stick with him? More importantly, how long will he stick with him? Is Wannell a better option, or should the Raiders consider a trade? Something has to change if this keeps up. Week 4 is coming up, but they can't wait too long to make a move. Thanks for watching. See you next time.